Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre. Today I effed up, where by one small action you can figure out a lot of things about your family that could freak you out. So let's begin. So, I have read many F-ups and horror stories from people who have done these mail-in DNA tests and have made shocking discoveries about their family, but I never thought in 100 years it would happen to me. I recently had an ancestry DNA test done because my boyfriend had gotten them for himself and me as a gift. Well, I finally got the results back and I had a number of close matches with people I had never heard of and don't know. I mean, like super close. Like we share a huge amount of DNA. So today I get a message from one of them saying hi and asking if my parents ever used a sperm donor. I'm like, not that I know of. She then goes on to say she has 8 half-siblings, now 9 with me, and that they all share the same biological father from a sperm donor. She says she's not sure how I would approach my parents about this or if I even want to, and also mentions that all of these individuals' families are from the same area in my state, and they even have a group chat where they talk to each other often. She says they are all super great people. So I'm just utterly confused at this point, and my mind is completely blowing up at the idea that my father, who I have known my whole life as my dad and biological parent, is not my actual father. I then proceeded to text my parents in a group with a screenshot of that person's message from Ancestry DNA, and I'm like, is there something you guys would like to tell me? So after about 15 minutes, my mom calls me and at first, she's like, wait, what was the message and who sent it? Like she's acting all confused, but then after I explain, she just sighs and is like, are you sitting down? I'm like, what the F? Well, long story short, when my parents were first trying for a kid, they couldn't get pregnant because my dad had some kind of medical issue. They tried all kinds of fertility treatments, but none would work. After they learned what was wrong with my dad, he got surgery, but at the same time, they were also using a sperm donor in an attempt to conceive. My mom said when they were having these donor treatments or whatever, they would be intimate. Gross, I don't want to think about it. At the same time. So they wouldn't know if they conceived whether it would be from my dad or the sperm donor. And apparently, they didn't want to know. Well, the surgery my dad had corrected his issue and they were able to naturally have kids after, so my 2 younger brothers are definitely my dad's. But yep, my mom said her and my dad always knew there was a chance, but they never wanted to know, and now both they and I know I am a sperm donor child. This definitely doesn't change anything about how I feel about my parents or my dad or our relationship. But it's certainly a massive shock. I never thought I would be in one of these situations. So there you have it, folks. That's how my day is going. But I guess I will continue to talk to the woman who is my half-sibling, and I'm even thinking about joining this group chat to get to know my, as far as I know right now, 8 other half-siblings. My head is still spinning and I have cried a little, but I think it is still going to take a while to come to terms with this newfound discovery. That is definitely life-altering news. I mean, yeah, of course, the relationship would stay the same if there's love and everything. But just imagine, put yourself in that situation. You suddenly find out that your dad is not your biological dad. That doesn't take away from the relationship, of course, but, it's so weird, it's surreal. Ever since these tests came out, I've been kind of curious about taking one, but the main reason I don't do it actually is I don't feel very comfortable being in some DNA database where other people can find me or something. I don't know, it just seems dodgy to me, but anyways, wow. Just imagine finding that news out. Huh. Alright, let's move on to the next post. I travel a lot for work, and I sometimes end up staying for a couple of nights in different parts of the country. I don't mind it since the company pays for accommodation and gives me a per diem. So I'm always quick to volunteer whenever something comes up if it means I can go somewhere for a few days on the company's dime. So anyways, one of the towns that we repeatedly have dealings with is this tiny little place in the middle of nowhere. I kinda like these types of places because I can drop into some random bar and get some local color. And being the new guy in town has its advantages with the novelty of a fresh face, where everybody seems to know everybody, if not by name, then at least by sight. Last summer, late June, I went to this place and hooked up with a girl in her early 20s. Really sweet, but obviously not looking for anything serious. Let's call her Emma. The next time I was in town in mid-July, I went back to the same place, which was more like a restaurant with a bar attached to it that had a patio. And I have to admit, I was looking for her, but she wasn't there. I felt a bit stupid to text her for whatever reason, so I ended up hooking up with an older woman, let's call her Zoe, who kinda looked like Emma. She was into all sorts of fetishes and was really open about everything. She went into detail about some of her past sexual encounters, and we recreated some of them. We said our goodbyes after a few memorable nights, and I have to say, if there ever was a before and after in my sexual life, that was it. It goes without saying that the next time the opportunity to go back to the town presented itself, in early September, I jumped at the chance. I texted Zoe as soon as my land manager approved the trip, but she only replied the next day saying that she was on vacation in Greece and it was too late to reschedule the trip, so I ended up going anyway. Given my previous good luck at the restaurant/patio, I ended up going back there and, lo and behold, Emma from June was there. One thing led to another, and we went back to my hotel room. Having been initiated into all sorts of fetishes, and now knowing how to talk about these things without sounding like a complete perv, I was delighted to see that she was up for almost everything that Zoe was into. Not at the same level, but she was definitely open-minded. That was something Zoe taught me. That people are generally open to try new things if you go about it the right way and have open communication. And she even told me, almost as if she was training me, that with my future partners, I should do things like this and that. She even called me her little science project. So I managed to make it back to the town one more time before Christmas. It must have been mid-November, and I was kinda torn about who I should contact. Emma was much closer to my age and was a lot of fun, but I was too curious about what else Zoe had in her repertoire, especially given our missed connection earlier in September. So we got together and she asked me how I'd been faring since the last time we met, how her little science project was doing. And I told her about the 3 women I'd hooked up with since her. I don't know why, but I didn't tell her that Emma was from her hometown. I just kind of felt like it was some kind of insult to Zoe, encroaching on her territory or whatever. But for whatever reason, she was fixated on what Emma and I did and how and so on. But we went through the same thing of recreating past sexual encounters, and now I had one that I could share that she seemed to really get into. Whereas before, it was basically all her past experiences. Fast forward to Christmas. I usually send mass texts to people wishing them Merry Christmas with a picture of me and my dog doing something goofy for a laugh. So I send one to everybody, almost 50 people, and Zoe doesn't reply. But Emma replies with a picture of her family opening presents. My effing jaw hit the floor. I did one of those close your eyes and pretend it isn't happening and wish it away ordeals, and didn't reply. Then about an hour later she goes, "How do you know my aunt? Why did you send her a text?" I don't reply. Then maybe 10 minutes later, I get a barrage of expletives. Nothing from Zoe. Then about 3 days later, I get an all-cap one-word text from Zoe. Twat. So yeah. Well, I don't have much to say about this one except Zoe's absolutely right. And she said it in one word. So on that note, let's move on to the next story. I was finishing up my workday around 7 when my mom comes in and asks if she can use my computer for her Bible study tonight via Zoom. Cheerfully, I agreed because I was exhausted anyway and wanted to help her out. Well, I logged my mom in and got her all set up, then headed out to the grocery store to pick up some necessities. After an hour, I returned home prepared for another lazy night when my mom gestured furiously at me to come hither. Perplexed, I walked over to the computer, at which point my mom pointed at her username with her eyebrow cocked, sending me the silent "what the F" signal. I bent over and turned white when I noticed that her username was not insert middle-aged woman name, but instead was Tiny Nipple Hoe. Apparently, the meeting host had pointed this out to Mom, sending the church folk into utter silence. My mom quickly muttered something about the computer being mine, sending me daggers as their gruesome interrogation continued. I burst out laughing, hiding from the screen's view, while I worked feverishly to change the username to my mom's name. However, it was too late. The deed was done. My mom's Bible study was nearly over by then, and already the gaggle of church hens plus one husband were tittering, all clearly mortified and giggling nervously at the shocking knowledge they had just learned about my nipple size. From there, I watched as these suburbanites collectively entered into an existential crisis, their expressions turning from confusion into horror as they started to question if they ever really knew me. Had their goody-goody church girl suddenly gone bad? Or had she always been this way, living a lie on Sundays, then taking a lie for the rest of the week? I'm sure they're all wondering if I've chosen a life of sin, filled with the moors of evil, selling the only God-given beauty I have to offer, my tiny nipples. These little golden nuggets replacing my religion, the beginnings of my egotistical slide into Satanism. For the record, I don't sell nudes. It was just a username from a latest meeting with friends when we were goofing around. Thankfully, my mom's pretty cool and took it well despite the humiliation. But anyone who attends church knows that word travels fast around these parts, and that after this pandemic, I'll definitely be met with massive side-eye in the church halls. I guess this just means now I'm the church slut. Or as Aunt Zelda would say, praise Satan. Well, humiliation and, taking it lightly aside, I guess you also learned that now you're gonna have to check your username before you lent out your computer or completely sign out from Zoom and sign in with some other credentials. Alright, well that was it for today. I hope you guys liked this video like you've liked all the others. Go ahead and press like and stick around for more content. I'll see you guys on the next video.